Okay. We are having a little bit of a more serious conversation today, and I will just also let myself be real vulnerable and honest here and say that I know I'm about to start my period. The tears have been coming up today. There are some coaching industry lies that are draining your wallet, and one, I want to help you break free, and two, there are some experiences that I've had that I've not really openly and honestly shared about publicly like this on a podcast, and today is the day. We're doing it. So, have you ever felt like you're doing everything that people in the online space say that you should be doing, but instead of growing your business, you're feeling broke, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling overwhelmed? These are the three things that I really want to dive into today, because these are myths that a lot of people inside of this online coaching industry really push, and I want to help you break free from them, because I know it's going to massively transform your business. So my promise for you for today's episode is that we're going to expose the three common lies that are impacting this world that we're all creating together in real time. This is still a fairly new thing. My next promise to you is I'm going to show you how to filter advice through your own unique vision so that you know for sure if you're actually making a decision based on what's best for you, or if you're just listening to what someone else is going to try to tell you to be a savior. And I'm also going to provide you with some tangible action steps that you can use to grow your business on your terms. And really that's what we're doing on this entire podcast, right? The entire Vibrant Alchemist podcast. There's so many tips for that. So, the number one lie that I cannot tell you how many times I've heard. I can't tell you how many times you have heard this. I'm sure we've all heard it hundreds of times, if not more than that. And it is invest to your edge. Invest as much as you possibly can. Invest as frequently as you can. Invest as much as you can. Invest until you're in debt. Get yourself into debt. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It's all good. That's the myth. The myth is that the only way to grow in your business, in your personal development, is to constantly stretch yourself, whether that's financially or another way, by investing in high-ticket mentorship. And the truth is that all of your investments should feel fully aligned and expansive, not like there's something that's putting you into survival mode constantly. And that is something that I've done myself. That's something that I've seen many of my clients go through. It's something I've seen many of my peers and friends go through. It's something that I've even watched some of my mentors go through. And so there was an experience about a year ago, just under a year ago, that I went through that really illuminated this for me big time. And what happened was I was at an in-person retreat, and there was a lot of different conflicting feelings and ideas and words going around about what it should look like to be in the space that we were in, and the support and feedback that we should be getting because of the investment that we paid to be in that space. And I thought everything was all good. I was like, yeah, it's a little bit weird that, like, there's a few weird things that are happening here that feel a little bit off, but, like, overall, this is pretty fucking epic. This is great. I'm so happy that I did this. Like, I'm getting what I wanted out of this. I got to go on my own solo trip, meet a bunch of other really incredible humans, and I'm still friends with a lot of those people today. And meanwhile, under wraps, there was a lot of conversations that were happening that I didn't become aware about until close to the very end. I think like the day before the last day, where I was hearing these whispers of, oh, well, it shouldn't be like this, it should be like that. It shouldn't be like this, it should be like that. And the main problem that people had that were talking about this was that what they had paid to be, whether it was at that in-person retreat experience, or if they had paid to be in the year-long mastermind, or they had paid to join like a one-off program, that the common denominator was that they were not getting basically the like value that they thought that they would be getting from what they invested in that space. And it ended up turning into this big whole thing where someone blew up on the last day and really sent the entire group on a totally different journey of, okay, now we have to completely shift our focus and notice what's going on here. Is this a perceived thing or is this a true thing, right? Is this actual over-investing, or is this person's perception of what they think is happening, that there's all these people and they're all mad and sad and angry and whatever because they feel that they've over-invested and they have been put into this really bad financial place because of what they were promised, that the person over-promised and under-delivered. And I was in that person's mastermind for the next entire year after that. And so, I'm getting into a couple of different things here, but something that I really noticed, both watching that leader navigate that and then navigating myself through being in that, continuing to be in that space for the next entire year, is noticing how, in some ways, what they were saying, I resonated with. I felt truth with. I also felt like I had been over-investing to be in those spaces, to be, stuff that I've even just recently been unraveling, which is like, I wanted to be part of like the cool girls club. I wanted to be included. I wanted to feel like I was part of something. I wanted to be, I wanted the, what's it called? The like recognition and reputation of like being friends with these people who are perceived in this way, right? And those weren't like the reasons that I was there, but those were the reasons I didn't want to leave. It's because I didn't want to lose that. I had already just naturally gained that by happening to join the space, and I didn't want to lose that. Yet, I didn't feel that I was putting my focus, my time, my implementation into making the most out of my financial investment. And there's so many different layers that I could go into here of all the different things that I watched unfold over that year of what would happen. But ultimately, even though I had some feelings that resonated with the like under promise and over deliver, and with feeling like I had over invested for the support that I was receiving, I also took full responsibility of like, okay, I put myself in this experience for a reason. I'm open, I'm willing, I'm ready to learn what I need to learn here. And I got so many lessons from watching, from observing, from just being around that space for that year. And I'm very, very, very lucky because I've had a few clients in a similar situation as well, where we're in a financial state that we can handle those, air quotes, losses. We can handle those situations where it's like, okay, I made this investment and maybe it wasn't the best investment, but it didn't completely derail me and like really fuck me up financially, right? But there are situations where that does happen, where people are already not in a healthy financial state and then they make really big investments and then they have to dig themselves out of a hole. And we talk about like our culture makes it so normal to do that with college. They just say, oh, just go get a loan. You just get a student loan. It's easy. And you can do that for your business too. But the really important thing here is just always asking yourself, is this investment that I'm wanting to make, is this truly supporting my next level? Or am I investing from a place of fear and FOMO? Coming up to the end of my time in that space I was describing, I actually had reconnected with that mentor in person. We both happened to be at the same event, and we had a really, really, really great like rekindling heart connection, and I felt the genuineness, and I was able to really see how like, okay, I disagree with how this specific situation was handled, and I can fully love and accept that this person sees that as the best way for them to respond to it, and they're not out of integrity. And that was what I had felt and thought and projected previously, is like, oh, they're preaching this, but what I witnessed was this, they're out of integrity. When the truth is, it's my perception of integrity. It was my perception of how that situation should have been handled. And after we had rekindled that and I was coming up on the end of my year in that space, I really had to sit for like a month with this feeling of like, do I rejoin? Do I continue? Do I become an alumni or do I not? And I've recognized through enough space, by giving myself space from the investment rather than just immediately making a decision out of like an emotional decision, which is what I had done previously when I had invested with that mentor. It was always just an immediate like, ooh, this is my immediate gut reaction. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And for me, a lot of times that works. I can make decisions, just immediate gut instinct decisions, and they're mostly right. And this time, when I just told myself to sit with it and not make a decision immediately, I realized if I continue, it's only out of FOMO. It's only out of, I don't want to miss out. I don't want to lose this community. I don't want to lose these people. I don't want to lose what I have gained from being in this space, because I absolutely gained so much from being there. But I had to recognize me wanting to stay in that space is actually a distraction, because I would spend a lot of my time just having conversations with those people, with my peers. And that's great. It's fine. It's wonderful. Some of them end up becoming clients, but that's not a great use of my time. It was a distraction from actually growing my business, from actually working on my business, from actually doing the things that are going to grow my business. So before you invest in anything, you need to ask yourself, is this truly supporting my next level, or am I investing out of fear or FOMO or a distraction? Is investing in this other program a distraction? That's actually getting into our next lie. The next lie is always be plugged into mentorship. The myth is that you need constant mentorship to succeed or you're going to lose momentum, right? How many times have we heard that? Just keep going, keep investing, invest more. You always want to be plugged in. The truth is that mentorship is powerful as fuck. But when you're overly reliant on external guidance from other people, it can really fuck you up when it comes to trusting your own intuition and expertise. I bet there are some examples that come to mind for you right away from your life of times where you trusted someone else's instinct over your own, you trusted someone else's guidance over your own, and then, what do you know, it didn't work. And not only did it not work, but it worked for the person who told you to do it. They did it that way, and it worked for them. But then you tried it, and it didn't work for you. Maybe it was related to your business, maybe it was related to health, maybe it was related to a relationship. This is what happens when we're overly reliant on other people. When we're constantly plugged into other people's podcasts, courses, mentorship, we lose and dilute our own voice. So we actually need, I talked about this in one of the previous episodes of the 5 daily habits. You need to schedule in quiet time where you're not consuming anything, you're not reading anything, you're not doing personal development, you're not trying to do money mindset stuff, you're not doing anything for your business, you're not listening to a podcast, you're not listening to training, you're not listening to an audiobook. You're just being. You're giving yourself intentionally that spaciousness to just hear your own voice, hear your own wisdom, because it all comes from within. After I went through burnout, I ended up letting my own businesses go. I'd previously been doing network marketing, I was still doing health coaching, I was still doing graphic design and marketing freelance for people, and I was also helping my husband with the business that we run. So that's like 4 different businesses that I was running all at once, and no fucking wonder I was burnt out. For about 2 years, I did literally nothing. I worked on the one business with my husband, and that was it. In my own world, I did nothing. I didn't really post online. I would post like personal stuff here and there when I felt like it, but I wasn't trying to grow a business. I wasn't trying to grow my email list. I wasn't doing shit. I was like, I need to just take a pause, sit back, listen to myself, and stop trying so hard to become something that I think I should be. And when I did that, I took a break, like I said, for like 2 years for me. And this can be such a big ego hit for people. I just want to acknowledge that that wasn't easy. There was a lot of ego stuff for me that came up around my own productivity and my own worth and all of that. And I didn't set a date to it either. I just said, I need to step back, I need to take a break, and I'm going to do it for however long I need to until I actually feel genuine pull and desire to move forward again. I know that time will come, but it's not here right now, and I need to stop trying to force this. If you're in that space where you know you need to take a break, but you've been resisting it, you've got to give yourself that permission. You've got to give yourself the space to hear yourself again. One of my clients right now, she's actually taking at least 30-day break from all consumption. She's not on social media, she's not listening to podcasts, she's not listening to mentors, she's just being with herself, giving herself spaciousness. And so when I came back from my break, immediately when I opened up my first offer, before I even had a link for people to pay me yet, we were actually we were hosting a retreat for our sexual kung fu brand, and it was one of the days there that it finally dropped in. I was like, oh my God, I'm creating a business course, and this is what it looks like, and this is what it's called, and oh my God, I'm so excited. And I was telling my husband about it during one of the breaks, and a couple of the guys overheard me, and 3 of them immediately were asking me how they can sign up. 2 of them ended up signing up as soon as I sent them the link, maybe a day or 2 later. That momentum has continued for the last couple of years, where I have an idea for something, I drop it, and people sign up. Because I gave myself the spaciousness and the break to listen to myself, and that now I schedule that in most days so that I don't need 2 years off, so that I don't need to take a month off. It's just scheduled into my every single day for sustainability. So this is my action tip for you with this one, is to really balance mentorship with periods of implementation. If you're just constantly in learn mode, if you're constantly in I'm doing homework, I'm learning, I'm practicing, I'm getting another certification, you're not executing, and then you can't refine that work to improve and get those same results quicker and quicker and quicker and doing it better. And then after you've learned and you executed and you're able to start refining, that's when it's great to start getting guidance for, okay, what's next? What's my next phase? What do I need to go into next? I have the capacity to expand. What's next for me? All right, lie number 3. The lie number 3. What's really funny is that this one has nuance. This one is contradictory. I both agree and disagree with this one. So, lie number 3 is copy what works for others. And I feel like what we hear most of the time is don't copy what works for others. We hear both success leaves clues, so look for what worked for someone else and it'll work for you. But then we also hear don't copy what someone else is doing just because it works for them. Right? So we're gonna play with both of these here because, like I said, I can see it both ways. I have room for both contradictory perspectives at once. So some will say that the myth is if it works for someone else, it will work for you. And there's truth to that. And there's also not truth to that. You know, a lot of times, I would say that I completely agree with this one. The truth is that strategies are not one size fits all. I absolutely believe that. And what works for someone else might be completely misaligned with your energy, your values, your audience, your dream lifestyle. So in that sense, copying what someone else is doing might be the worst possible thing you could do. And also, when we first started our sexual kung fu business, 1, it was modeled off of Russell Brunson's books. So that's obviously listening to someone else's strategy. And then 2, it was also very highly based off of what I had been studying from watching other people online who I had seen really, really growing their online businesses, their social media presence, all that stuff. One very significant one was Manifestation Babe. I don't know how, maybe because we were both in network marketing, somehow I had started following her when her account was really small. I want to say maybe like 2,000 to 5,000 followers. And I was just like, oh, this girl seems cool. Like, whatever. And I literally watched that account grow over the years. And I paid attention to what she was doing. So when we launched our sexual kung fu business, what did I do? We did a very similar model to what she had been doing back then. Obviously, I have no idea what the back end of her business looked like, but I noticed she used Kajabi. She had a freebie that led into a low-ticket lead magnet. She had, I think it was like a 12-week course at that point. It was something like that, either 6 weeks or 12 weeks. It might have actually been 6 weeks because our first one was 6 weeks long. So I wasn't copying like every little teeny tiny detail of what she was doing, but I was looking at, okay, what are the overarching themes and patterns that I'm noticing? Themes and patterns in her content. I would notice like, oh, this topic went viral when she talked about it, and I noticed that now she started talking about that at least once every week. Interesting. Okay, so let's pay attention to that in our own content. When something goes viral, when something really resonates with people, we need to talk about that way more frequently. We need to just repeat it again and again and again. So this is where, like I said, that nuance comes in here. Yes, copying what works for others might not work for you, but if you look at it from a bigger lens of what's the pattern here, what's the theme underlying what I'm noticing, that might work for you, especially if it's something that you keep being drawn to, because that's exactly what that was. I kept being drawn to it, and I was fascinated by it. I was literally studying it. I was like, what's going on here? Why is this working? Similar with Angie Lee and with Rachel Bell. I would study them. I'd be like, what's going on? I didn't have the finances at that time to join their courses, but I would literally study their content and notice, what were they doing? Why was it working? Okay, let me try that for myself. What do you know? It works. So, there's a good example for you. There's also some other people, some other clients that I've worked with who've tried to emulate, so many words. I notice this a lot as well, specifically with healers trying to copy what a business coach is doing, trying to duplicate like a different industry's launch strategy. And a lot of times they end up getting burnt out because, one, they're following someone who has a very different energy than they do, but two, they're following someone who wants to run their business in a very different way. And most business coaches that I see, you guys obviously know I'm not so much this way. People that I recommend to you are not so much this way, but a lot of them want to have very intense launch periods, and then they take a fucking break for 3 months after that. They don't show up. They don't do anything. They're just repurposing content. They don't show up live anymore because they're so burnt out from what they just did, from posting every day, emailing every day, doing live webinars, like multiple live webinars over a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and like doing so much. And what my clients always find is that having a slower, more intimate approach aligns and converts so much better for them. So when you're inspired by someone else's strategies, my action tip for you is I encourage you to ask yourself, does this align with my vision, my values, with my lifestyle that I want? When you're noticing that they're posting a lot, is that actually what you want to do? Do you want to be posting that much? Or do you feel like you should be posting that much? You can post just a couple times a week and sell from every single post that you make. The other question I want you to ask yourself is this truly supporting my business, or is this a distraction? This is a question I just want you to start asking yourself every single day, no matter what. Is this a distraction? Is that a distraction? Is this a distraction? Because you will be amazed how frequently you're distracting yourself with random shit that you think is really important. Oh, I need to scroll on Instagram right now because I need to get inspiration. Distraction. Oh, I need to go listen to that podcast episode because it'll get me inspired to be in the zone to create content. Distraction. Oh, I need to go get that other certification because then people will want to work with me more. Distraction. So ask yourself, does this align with my vision and values? And is this truly supporting my business, or is it a distraction? So our 3 lies from today. 1 is, instead of investing until you're in debt, you want to invest when it's aligned and expansive. Number 2, you don't need constant mentorship in your ears. Take time and space to trust your own wisdom. And line number 3, don't blindly copy others. Filter every single strategy through your own unique vision. And honestly, I even want to say that for when your mentor recommends something, if you are working with someone right now and they recommend you to do something and you're just like, ugh, I don't want to. That doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel good. That feels like hard. That feels really, really hard. That feels really stressful. You get to say that. You get to stand up for yourself and say, I appreciate that, but that really feels awful. That's not something that I want to do. So the coaching industry can be a really noisy place. And I need you to know that you don't have to follow the crowd. And in fact, when you choose not to follow the crowd, that's when you become a leader. When you trust your intuition, you make aligned decisions, and you know that your business can thrive in a way that feels expansive rather than draining, that's when you actually become a leader. That's when you step into your own space of doing something different that other people aren't doing. So if this episode resonated with you, I would love if you could share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to build a business that works for you, join me in 7-Figure Freedom Method. You can either message me freedom over on Instagram or find the link down in the show notes. Or if you want to check out my free training that'll give you a big overview of exactly how my business works and really the mindset that you need to go into creating a business that works for you rather than you working for it like a slave, you can comment relaxed on any of my posts on Instagram or DM me relaxed, or also you can find that down in the show notes. So yeah, I would also love at any point in time, if there's ever anything that resonates with you, I love when you share that with me on Instagram, share it to your stories, repost this podcast episode over there. It just feels really, really nice to know that there's other people on the other end of this audio. So love you. See you next time.